On the fateful morning of December 7, 1941, the skies over Pearl Harbor erupted in flames as Japanese aircraft unleashed a surprise assault on the American naval base. Far away in an Army Air Corps mess hall, a young corporal named Jacob DeShazer was dutifully peeling potatoes for the evening meal. Born on November 15, 1912, in the small farming community of West Dayton, Oregon, DeShazer had grown up amid vast wheat fields, the son of hard-working parents who tilled the soil for a living. He graduated from Madras High School in 1931, leading an unremarkable rural existence marked by chores, community gatherings, and the rhythms of harvest seasons. By his own later accounts, he had drifted far from the Christianity of his youth, eventually identifying as an atheist, skeptical of spiritual matters in a world that seemed governed by practical realities. The radio bulletin about Pearl Harbor shattered the mundane routine. As details poured in, battleships sinking, sailors perishing, the harbor a sea of fire, DeShazer's blood boiled. In a surge of patriotic fury, he hurled a half-peeled potato across the kitchen, smashing it against the wall, and bellowed, "Japan is going to pay for this." The attack claimed 2,403 American lives, destroyed 188 aircraft, and crippled the Pacific Fleet. For DeShazer, then 29, it was a clarion call. 4 months later, in early 1942, he enlisted in the Army Air Corps, determined to fight back. Unable to meet the rigorous standards for pilot training due to vision or other qualifications, he instead qualified as a bombardier, learning the precise art of dropping explosives from the sky. His chance for retribution arrived swiftly. DeShazer volunteered for a top-secret mission shrouded in mystery, one that would etch his name into history, the Doolittle Raid. Led by Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle, the operation aimed to strike the Japanese homeland itself, boosting American morale and proving that the enemy was not invincible. On April 18, 1942, 16 B-25 Mitchell medium bombers lifted off from the deck of the aircraft carrier USS Hornet, a feat never before attempted with such large planes from a naval vessel. The goal was not widespread devastation but a symbolic punch, a message to Japan: you are not safe even on your own soil. DeShazer was assigned to the 16th and final bomber, aircraft number 16, affectionately nicknamed Bat Out of Hell by its crew. His target, the industrial city of Nagoya. As the Hornet steamed through choppy Pacific waters, the raiders knew the risks were immense. The plan called for launching 650 miles from Japan, bombing targets, then flying onward to friendly airfields in China. But fate intervened cruelly. Japanese picket boats spotted the task force early, forcing Doolittle to order an immediate launch 170 miles farther out than intended. This premature takeoff burned precious fuel, dooming any hope of reaching China with reserves. The Bat Out of Hell roared into the air as the last plane, its engine straining under the load of bombs and extra fuel tanks. Over Nagoya, DeShazer peered through his Norden bomb sight, releasing the payload on factories and oil storage facilities. Explosions bloomed below, fires raging as the B-25 banked away. Mission accomplished, but the return was a nightmare. Headwinds sapped the remaining fuel faster than calculated. As darkness fell over Japanese-occupied China, then under brutal control, the engines sputtered and died. The crew had no choice: bail out. DeShazer leaped into the void, his parachute deploying just in time. He landed hard in a misty cemetery, twisting his ankle painfully on a gravestone. Disoriented and in agony, he evaded for mere hours before Japanese patrols, alerted by the crash, captured him and the scattered crew. Within 24 hours, all were in custody, bound and transported to Tokyo for interrogation. The Japanese High Command viewed the Doolittle raiders not as legitimate combatants but as war criminals, terrorists who had bombed civilian areas on the sacred mainland, including near the Imperial Palace. The prisoners endured initial brutal interrogations, beatings with bamboo rods, water torture, and threats of execution. In October 1942, a military tribunal convened. 8 captured raiders, including DeShazer's crew, were sentenced to death. 3 were selected for immediate execution: Lieutenant William Farrow, the pilot, Lieutenant Robert Height, co-pilot, and Sergeant Harold Spatz, engineer/gunner. all from DeShazer's own plane. They were tied to stakes and shot by firing squad, their bodies later cremated. Another crewmate, Lieutenant Robert Meader, would perish months later from beriberi, dysentery, and relentless mistreatment. Emperor Hirohito, in a rare act of clemency, commuted the sentences of the remaining 5, including DeShazer, to life imprisonment. What followed was 40 months of unremitting horror. DeShazer was shuttled between prisons, spending 34 months in solitary confinement, a tiny, filthy cell barely larger than a closet, with a thin mat, a slop bucket, and a single barred slit for light. Rations were a daily handful of rice infested with weevils, occasional watery soup and moldy bread, barely 500 calories, leading to rapid emaciation. Guards administered punishments at whim, fists to the face, kicks to the ribs, cigarette burns. Psychological warfare was constant, false execution drills, screams of other prisoners echoing through halls, mock trials promising freedom then snatching it away. DeShazer watched friends waste away. He witnessed executions through peepholes. His body withered to skin and bones, ribs protruding, teeth loosening from scurvy. But worse was the soul-corroding hatred. Every lash, every starvation pang, every memory of his executed crewmates fueled a volcanic rage. He fantasized about escape, about returning with armies to raise Japan. "If I survive," he vowed silently, "I'll make them pay 1,000-fold." Vengeance became his lifeline in the void. Nearly a year into this abyss, around mid-1943, a guard approached his cell with something unprecedented, a Bible. It was not a gift but a loan, for exactly 3 weeks. "Read it carefully," the guard warned in broken English. "You get no more." Why this mercy? Perhaps curiosity, or a subtle test. DeShazer, desperate for any distraction from madness, accepted. No books, no conversation, no news of the outside world. He had nothing. He began reading Genesis mechanically, then pushed through the historical books. At first, it was mere occupation, words blurring in the dim light. But persistence led to the New Testament. In the Gospels, Jesus' teachings pierced the armor of hate. The Sermon on the Mount, "Love your enemies, bless those who curse you," seemed absurd, impossible. Then came the crucifixion accounts. Luke 23 verse 34, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Jesus, nailed to a cross by Roman executioners, praying forgiveness for his tormentors. DeShazer reread it, stunned. These men knew exactly what they did, yet grace extended anyway. It defied logic, culture, everything his suffering screamed. He devoured the epistles. In Romans, Paul's exposition on grace, not earned, but gifted, shattered his worldview. Sin's wage was death, but God's gift was life through Christ. In that fetid cell, amid filth and despair, in 1944, Jacob DeShazer surrendered. He prayed, confessing atheism, hatred, vengeance. Faith flooded in, immediate and transformative. The angry atheist became a believer. The guards saw it first. No more curses hurled at slop delivery. Instead, a weak but genuine "good morning." Japanese. He smiled through swollen lips, prayed aloud for his captors' families. Baffled, some mocked, others pondered. A few slipped extra rice or a scrap of fish. "What book does this?" one whispered. DeShazer's vow shifted. If liberated, he would return to Japan, not with bombs, but with the Bible's message of redemption. Victory came abruptly. On August 20, 1945, days after Japan's surrender, American OSS paratroopers dropped into the Beijing area POW camp, transferred late in the war. Emaciated prisoners cheered as gates swung open. DeShazer, weighing under 100 pounds, was free. Repatriated to the U.S., he received the Distinguished Flying Cross for the raid and the Purple Heart for wounds and captivity. But the firebrand was extinguished. He enrolled at Seattle Pacific College, now university, to study theology, hungry for deeper understanding. In 1946, he married Florence Matheny, a supportive partner in his new calling. By 1948, just 3 years after liberation, DeShazer fulfilled his prison vow. From San Francisco Bay, he sailed back to Japan, this time unarmed, as a missionary with the Free Methodist Church. He penned a powerful tract, I Was a Prisoner of Japan, published by the Bible Meditation League. In raw, honest prose, it detailed Pearl Harbor's spark of hate, the raid's thrill, capture's terror, torture's depths, the Bible's loan, and faith's miracle, hatred alchemized into love. Printed in Japanese and English, the tract exploded in popularity. Over 30 million copies circulated globally in dozens of languages. DeShazer hit the streets, train stations in Tokyo, bus depots in Osaka, handing them to commuters, salarymen, students. Please read my story, he'd say with a bow. One recipient, in 1949 at bustling Shibuya Station, was Mitsuo Fukuda. Born in 1902 in Nara Prefecture, Fukuda was a naval aviation prodigy. Joining the Imperial Japanese Navy young, he mastered carrier operations, becoming a commander by 1941. On December 7th, he orchestrated history's infamy. At 7:49 a.m., from his Kate bomber, he radioed, Tora! 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 Complete surprise achieved. His 183-plane first wave, followed by 170 more, devastated Pearl Harbor. 8 battleships sunk or crippled, 188 aircraft obliterated, 2,403 dead. A national icon, Fukuda briefed Emperor Hirohito in the palace, presenting a meticulously painted aerial map of the strike. War spared him narrowly. On August 5, 1945, he was in Hiroshima for Army-Navy coordination. Urgent orders pulled him out overnight. The Enola Gay's bomb fell hours later. Returning to survey damage, he absorbed radiation, suffering lifelong effects. Surrender crushed him. The divine emperor capitulated. Bushido's code lay in ruins. Bitter, guilt-ridden over lives lost yet unatoned in Shinto tradition, Fukuda retreated to a farm, tilling soil in isolation. In Tokyo for war crimes testimony, the tract's title snagged him, I Was a Prisoner of Japan. Reading of an American's 40-month ordeal, execution witnesses, yet voluntary return with forgiveness, via a Bible? Alien to samurai honor, it intrigued. Fukuda purchased a Japanese New Testament. Luke's crucifixion verse mirrored DeShazer's epiphany, forgiveness unearned. Convicted in 1950, Mitsuo Fukuda became a Christian, baptized and reborn. That same year, Providence united them. DeShazer and Fukuda met face-to-face in a modest room. The Pearl Harbor mastermind extended a hand, the tortured raider grasped it firmly. No recriminations, only shared testimonies. Both men, enemies by war, brothers by grace. Their friendship ignited instantly, deep and enduring. For decades, they crisscrossed Japan, packed churches in Kyoto, school auditoriums in Hiroshima, public halls in Tokyo. Side by side on platforms, Fukuda recounted leading the attack that killed thousands, DeShazer bombing Nagoya then enduring hell. Audiences gasped, then wept, reconciliation incarnate. In 1959, DeShazer moved permanently to Nagoya, the city he once firebombed, founding a Christian center and church. Former residents who hid in shelters during the raid now filled pews, hearing the American preach love. Fukuda evangelized worldwide, Asia tours, U.S. lectures. The architect of Pearl Harbor advocating peace carried unmatched weight. They corresponded weekly, visited families, celebrated milestones. On stage, their ease was palpable, jokes, embraces, mutual respect. Not scripted theater, authentic kinship. Mitsuo Fukuda died May 30, 1976, at 73, from diabetes complications. DeShazer pressed on in Japan until 1977, retiring to Oregon after 30 years of service. He passed peacefully on March 15, 2008, at 95, surrounded by family. Jacob DeShazer's Odyssey reveals hatred's fragility. Justified in perpetual grudge, beatings leaving scars, starvation dropping him to 90 pounds, 34 months alone, crewmates murdered. He chose release through Christ's model. Faith reframed suffering as pathway to empathy. Mitsuo Fukuda's parallel, guilt's heavy yoke. Commanding death for 2,403, surviving Hiroshima by hours, Cultural shame offered no absolution. Christianity granted unmerited pardon, freeing him to atone via testimony. Their alliance honored history without bondage. Deshazor recalled every lash, Fukuda, every torpedo drop. Yet past yielded to purpose. Joint decades of witness proved reconciliation viable. If these extremes could bond, no divide was insurmountable. Japanese congregations still study them, tracts reprint, films retell. Enemies to family, transformations triumph. In 1948, Deshazor disembarked in Yokohama, vengeance abandoned for the gospel. That obedience saved him, converted Pearl Harbor's leader, and rippled grace to millions. A potato hurled in anger birthed a legacy of love.